What if a poor boy's single act of kindness could shake the walls of his entire community? What if giving away the only meal he saved for days became the key to a future he never imagined? You may think this is just a story, but wait until you hear what happened to Marcus Brown. His decision on one stormy night was small in the eyes of the world, but it carried a weight that even he could not understand. Stay with me, because the truth behind what happened will not be revealed now. It will come later in the story, and when it does, you will realize why that moment changed everything. Before we continue, I want you to stay with me till the end of this story. And while you are here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you are watching from. Your support keeps these real-life inspired stories alive. Now, let's begin. The sound of dripping rain was the first thing Marcus Brown heard when he opened his tired eyes. It was 5:30 in the morning, though his alarm clock hadn't worked for months. His body had grown used to waking up early because life demanded it. At only 17, Marcus lived a life heavier than his age. He rolled out of the narrow twin bed he had slept on since he was 8 years old. The mattress sagged in the middle, but it was the same one his mother bought before the accident that took her away. The floor creaked under his feet as he tiptoed past his grandmother's room. Evelyn Brown, his 73-year-old grandmother, was already awake. She always pretended to still be asleep so Marcus wouldn't worry, but he could hear her struggling breaths through the thin wall. Their small house on Maple Street told its own story. The yellow paint had faded into something closer to newspaper gray. The wooden porch sagged in the middle, tired from decades of weight. Windows were taped with duct strips to hold them in place. But no matter how broken the house looked, Evelyn kept it spotless. Being poor is not the same as being dirty, she always told him. Marcus dressed in the same jeans from yesterday. He checked his pocket. Bus money, $3.47. Just enough to get to work, but not enough to bring him back. He didn't mind walking 3 miles home in the dark. He had done worse. His walk to Clark's Diner took him past 2 different worlds. First came the clean neighborhoods, with painted fences and driveways full of shiny cars. Then came Pinewood Apartments, where his friend Tyrone lived. The parking lot was full of potholes and broken dreams. A little further, down Greenwood Mall stood, abandoned and crumbling, where older kids hung around with nothing to do but waste time. Finally, Clark's Diner appeared at the corner of Oak and Main. Its fluorescent lights glowed against the early morning darkness like a beacon. Inside, Frank Dawson, the owner, was already preparing for the morning rush. He gave Marcus a quick nod. They didn't talk much, but Frank respected the boy who worked harder than many grown men. Marcus tied on his apron and started his routine. Hot water, soap, scrub, rinse, dry. Plates piled high, but his hands moved quickly. Months of washing dishes had hardened his skin. He sometimes looked at his rough hands and wondered if college hands looked softer, like the hands that turned pages in textbooks instead of dunking plates into greasy water. When his shift ended, Marcus rushed to Jefferson High School. The building was old and worn, but inside he was not just the boy who washed dishes. He was the boy with straight A's. His English teacher, Mrs. Harris, often stopped him after class. "Marcus, you have a gift with words. Have you thought about college?" Marcus always gave the same answer: "I can't afford it." But Mrs. Harris never gave up. She would hand him brochures, scholarship forms, and pamphlets filled with pictures of libraries and grassy quads. "Dreams find their way when the dreamer is worthy," she told him. At lunch, when other students bought hot food, Marcus pulled out his peanut butter sandwich and flipped through the brochures. The numbers always scared him. Even with help, it looked impossible. After school, he went back to Clark's diner for the evening shift. The night customers were different. Families celebrating, lonely elders stretching their meals, couples laughing softly in booths. Marcus noticed everything. The woman at table 3 counting coins carefully, the businessman leaving big tips when the waitresses looked tired. The small ways kindness moved around. At home, Evelyn waited in her old recliner, her oxygen tank humming beside her. She asked the same question every evening. "How was your day, baby?" "Good, Grandma. How was yours?" "Better now that you're home." They didn't talk about the pills she couldn't afford or the doctor visits she skipped. Instead, they watched the evening news together. Stories of other people's lives that felt like they belonged to another world. But tonight was different. He didn't know it yet, but tonight was the night that would test his heart in ways he never imagined. For 3 days, he had been saving every cent for a special moment to buy himself a meal. No cheap sandwich, no skipped dinner. A real meal, like a real customer. He could already taste the burger and fries he planned to order. But as he cleaned his last table of the night, hunger twisted his stomach. He had walked past snacks, ignored sodas, and chosen to walk instead of ride the bus, all to afford this one dinner. For Marcus, this meal wasn't just food. It was a symbol of choice, of dignity. But across the room, in the corner booth, usually reserved for couples, sat an elderly white couple. Their clothes were soaked from the rain. Their coffee cups sat nearly empty. They looked tired, worried, and out of place. Marcus paused, holding the tray with his long-awaited dinner. He did not know it yet, but the decision he was about to make would change his life forever.
The storm outside raged harder as Marcus placed his tray on the counter. The burger and fries were steaming, the smell teasing his empty stomach. It was the meal he had worked for, the one he had saved 3 long days to afford. Yet his eyes kept drifting to the couple in the corner booth. The man sat stiff, his soaked suit clinging to him. The woman's silver hair dripped water onto her expensive-looking tote. They didn't touch their coffee anymore, just stared at the table in quiet despair. The woman opened her purse again, spilling tissues, breath mints, and glasses onto the booth, but still no wallet. Her whisper to her husband carried across the diner, "I don't know where it is." The man searched his pockets again and again, pulling out an old pocket watch, but nothing more. He shook his head. Their pride was fading fast. Linda Parker, the evening waitress, approached with hesitation, the check in her hand. She had seen this kind of thing before. "I'm sorry to bother you folks, but here's the bill." The woman's voice broke. We seem to have lost our wallet. I don't understand. We had it when we left the house. This has never happened to us before." Her husband's voice was low but steady. "Maybe we can leave something as collateral. My watch or my wife's documents." Linda's eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "I'm sorry. Mr. Dawson has a strict policy, no exceptions." At that moment, Frank Dawson himself came out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron. His face was hard, but his tone carried weight. "I'm sorry, folks. I wish I could, but I can't. The diner runs on tight margins." The man nodded, his dignity still intact. "Come on, Helen. We'll figure something out." Helen clutched a leather portfolio to her chest like it was the last thing she owned. As they stood to leave, Marcus saw a glimpse of papers inside, official-looking, with a gold seal stamped on them. He didn't understand it, but something about it caught his attention. The couple moved toward the door. Outside, the storm howled like a warning. Thunder shook the windows. Lightning lit up the parking lot where their car sat alone. "They can't go out there, not at their age," Linda murmured. But Frank had already gone back to the kitchen. Marcus looked at his tray. The burger, the fries, his reward, his sacrifice. 3 days of hunger, of walking instead of riding the bus. It was right there. Yet his chest felt heavy as he saw Helen's shoulders slump. Something inside him decided. "Wait!" Marcus called, his voice cutting through the diner. The couple turned slowly, the man's pale blue eyes fixed on him, sharp and piercing, as if measuring him. Marcus picked up his tray and walked toward them. His steps were steady, though his stomach screamed in protest. He placed the meal in front of them. "This one's on me tonight." The woman blinked fast, her lips trembling. "Oh, sweetheart, we can't take your food." "Please," Marcus said quietly. "My grandmother always says kindness is the only thing that multiplies when you give it away." The man studied Marcus, his gaze unwavering. Then, with a slow nod, he said, "Son, this is your meal. You worked for it." "Then let me choose what to do with it," Marcus replied, his voice firmer than he expected. Linda brought fresh coffee without being asked. "Pete's garage is open. I'll call him for your car." The couple finally sat back down, hesitant but grateful. Marcus slid into the booth with them. "I'm Marcus Brown." The man extended his hand. "William Carter. And this is my wife, Helen." Helen's hand shook slightly as she reached for a fry. "We haven't eaten since breakfast. Our car broke down on Highway 19 and we walked here through the rain. We thought we had our wallet." "Cars break down," Marcus said gently. "Happens to everyone." William tilted his head, still watching Marcus carefully. "You work here? After school? Weekends?" I nodded. "Trying to save. Maybe for college, if that ever happens. I want to study business, maybe something to help my community." Helen and William exchanged a look. She clutched the portfolio tighter, and again Marcus glimpsed the gold seal on her papers. Something official, something serious. Soon Pete arrived with his tow truck. The Carters stood, preparing to leave. William placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, firm and strong. "Son, you've given us more than food tonight. You've given us a glimpse of true character." Marcus lowered his eyes. "It was just a meal." "Nothing is just a meal," William said firmly. "Kindness is never small." They left with Pete, the storm easing as if nature itself bowed to the moment. But Marcus sat still in the booth, unsure of what just happened. Linda slid into the seat across from him. "Honey, I've been a waitress for 15 years. I've never seen someone give away the only food they had." Marcus shrugged, his voice low. "They needed it more than I did." But Linda frowned. Something about them seemed strange. "Did you notice? That car of theirs started right up after Pete looked at it. Said it was just the battery, like someone had disconnected it on purpose." Marcus frowned. "That's odd. And did you see that wallet? When Pete asked for payment, William pulled out a wallet thick enough to choke a horse. Funny how he didn't have it when it came time to pay here." Marcus felt cold inside. Had they lied? Why would they pretend? He walked home in silence, the rain dripping down his jacket. Maple Street was quiet, the houses dark. Inside, Evelyn waited in her recliner, oxygen tank humming. "You're late, baby," she said softly. "Everything all right?" Marcus told her what happened, expecting her to smile at his kindness. Instead, she listened carefully, her eyes narrowing. "Silver hair, you said? Blue eyes? And papers with gold seals?" "Yes, Grandma. Why?" She leaned back, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sometimes angels come disguised as people in need, testing hearts." Marcus shook his head. "They weren't angels, just people with bad luck." "Maybe," she said, patting his hand with frail fingers, "or maybe something greater than you can see." Marcus lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. He replayed the piercing look in William's eyes, the gold seal, the way they suddenly had money when moments before they did not. Something wasn't right. He didn't know it yet, but the answer would come soon, an answer that would shake his entire world.
The next morning, Marcus arrived at Jefferson High School, like always, carrying his old backpack and the weight of another long day. But this day would not be like the others. Whispers followed him down the hall. Teachers glanced at him strangely. By second period, the intercom crackled, "Marcus Brown, please report to the principal's office immediately." Marcus froze. He had never been called to the office before. Students turned to stare as he made his way down the corridor. His palms felt clammy, though he didn't know why. Through the office window, he saw Principal Clark speaking with two people. His stomach twisted. Sitting across from the desk were William and Helen Carter, but they looked nothing like the stranded couple from Clark's diner. William's suit was sharp, pressed. Helen's coat was flawless. Their posture screamed confidence and power. Papers with the gold seal lay spread across the desk. The secretary opened the door. "Mr. Brown, they're waiting for you." Marcus stepped in slowly. William stood, his presence filling the room. His pale blue eyes were as sharp as ever. "Hello again, son." Marcus stammered. "You're not who I thought you were." "You're right," William said firmly. "Last night, you bought dinner for one of the most powerful philanthropists in the state. The question is, why?" Marcus' heart pounded, but he answered simply, "Because you needed help. It didn't matter who you were." Helen smiled softly. "Exactly." Principal Clark slid a thick folder across the desk. On top was Marcus's school photo. His name printed bold, "Marcus Brown, Candidate Assessment." Marcus's hand shook as he opened it. Inside were his grades, his work record at Clark's diner, and even testimonies from neighbors about how he carried groceries, shoveled snow, and tutored kids. "You've been watching me?" Marcus asked. "We've been evaluating you," Helen corrected gently. "For 3 days, we studied your character. Last night was the final test." Marcus's jaw tightened. "So the car, the lost wallet, it was all fake?" "Staged," William admitted without hesitation. "We needed to see what you would do when kindness came at a cost. We needed to know if you would give even when no one was watching." Marcus felt betrayed. "You lied to me." "We tested you," William said firmly, "and you passed. You didn't just pass, you exceeded every expectation." Helen opened her leather portfolio, revealing papers stamped with the same gold seal Marcus had glimpsed. "We represent the Carter Foundation, a $200 million organization dedicated to rebuilding communities. We're launching our biggest project yet, a new community development center right here in your town. But we need a local leader, someone who understands real struggle, someone we can trust. That someone is you." Marcus's voice cracked. "Me?" William nodded. "We're offering you a full scholarship to any university you choose. Tuition, housing, books, everything covered. During breaks, you'll intern with our foundation. When you graduate, you'll return here to help run the new center." Helen slid blueprints across the desk. Marcus's breath caught. The plan showed a massive modern building labeled Marcus Brown Community Development Center. "You want to name it after me?" he whispered. "We want you to build it. This isn't just charity, it's partnership. We'll provide resources, you'll provide leadership." Marcus stared at the papers, overwhelmed. "Why me? There are so many people." "Because you see potential where others only see poverty. Because you gave up your only meal to strangers without knowing who they were. That kind of heart is rare." Principal Clark leaned forward. "Marcus, in all my years, I've never seen an opportunity like this." Marcus thought of Evelyn at home, struggling to breathe, skipping doctor's visits. He thought of Jefferson High's outdated computers, Greenwood Mall rotting away, neighbors barely surviving. His voice trembled. "What if I fail?" Helen's eyes softened. "Then you'll fail while trying to lift others. That's not failure, that's courage." William added, "Your scholarship is guaranteed no matter what, but this offer, the center, the future, it's yours if you accept it." 18 months later, Greenwood Mall no longer stood. In its place rose the Marcus Brown Community Development Center, a glass and steel beacon of hope. The medical clinic opened first, led by Dr. Emily Johnson. Within months, hundreds of patients received care, including Evelyn Brown. Her diabetes was managed, her oxygen tank retired. She sat proudly at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, tears in her eyes. Inside, computer labs buzzed with students learning modern skills. Job training programs launched businesses. Families lined up for healthcare, education, and meals. The whole neighborhood began to change. Marcus, now in college studying nonprofit management, spent breaks overseeing the center. He carried himself taller, more confident, but the kindness in his eyes never faded. One evening, Linda Parker rushed to him. "Marcus, there's a family at the diner. They can't pay for their food. It reminded me of you that night." Marcus smiled and went with her. At Clark's diner, he saw a young couple with 2 children, their clothes worn, their eyes tired. The father's name was Carlos Rivera, the mother Maria. They had walked miles after their car broke down. Marcus placed 2 meals in front of them. "This one's on me tonight." Their eyes filled with gratitude, the same way William and Helen's had once. Marcus handed them his card. "Come to the center tomorrow. We'll help you find work and a place to stay." That night, Marcus called William. "I finally understand what you told me once. Kindness is the only investment that always pays back." William's voice warmed. "And what's your return so far, Director Brown?" Marcus looked at the bustling center, children laughing outside, adults learning inside, his grandmother healthier than ever. "Immeasurable," he said. As he walked home under the streetlights, he realized the truth. Transformation isn't a moment, it's a choice made every day. And sometimes, one act of kindness is enough to spark a fire that lights up an entire community.